In this video, I'm going to show you how to make foghorn drum and bass like this. If you want to make music like this, my ROLLERS DNB pack and my foghorn DNB pack are available in the link down below. Now this track is 174 BPM and it's in D minor, and we're going to go through the drums first, then we're going to go through the basses, then the vocals, then the instruments, and then finally the effects. Let's start with the drums. So we've got a 16 bar intro, and then we've got an 8 bar build up, and then we've got the drop that's in 16 bar phrases and lasts a total of 64 bars long. So let's look at the intro first. So the intro is really simple. All we have is the Rollers Crash 2, and that's it for the first 8 bars. And then a load of instruments come in here. So if I just highlight 4 bars so you can see, we've got some hats and drum loops. So let me just zoom in a little bit more, and it looks like this. So the first one is hat 35, the second one is hat 26, and it sounds like this. And then we add in hat 2, it sounds like this. Then we add perk loop 5 in. And then I found another loop on splice. And then the crash as well. And this just continues for another 8 bars in the intro, and then a further 8 bars, but then we leave 1 bar clear for the pre-drop in the build-up. And then you can see some of these come back in the drop as well. So then on top of that, we have this sample I found on Splice, which is like a pulse, and we just bring it slowly in with this kick drum here. So for the first 4 bars of the build-up, we just have this play. And then we bring this kick drum in here, slowly being EQ'd in, and then it stops 1 bar before the drop again for the pre-drop. And the only drum we have in the pre-drop is the snare, which comes in 1 beat before the main drop. So now let's have a look at the drums on the drop. The kick drum is really simple. It just hits once every bar. So this is less frequently than normal. And that's because the Rollers basses are just so heavy, we don't need more kick drums than that. They just carry the tune basically. So if you listen to kick in the snare, it's literally just like this. So the kick drum is on the first beat, the snare is on the second and 4th beat, and then it's just repeated. Then we add our hi-hat in between each bar like this. And then we add these elements we had in earlier back in, and we get this. And that creates some nice flowing drums for these basses to go over. And then at the end of 8 bars, you can see here, we have a little transition period. And then at the end of the 32 bars, we have another slightly varied transition. And then that just repeats. So listen. And then here we have a jump up break, 04 here. Just a breaks basically. And then you see this just repeats. So 16 bars, 16 bars, 16 bars, 16 bars. And then we go back into the breakdown and another drop. This is quite popular in drum and bass at the moment. You either do 32 bar drop or a 64 bar drop, depending on the track you're creating. DJs typically prefer 64, but then it can get a little bit boring if you don't have a lot of variation in. So I just decide, depending on the tune, if I go for 32 or 64. So if you've been following this channel for a while, I've got a music production academy that recently launched. So if you're struggling with your music production and want to take it to the next level, this is the place to be. I know I wish I had this when I first started out. There's a link down below to join that academy today. Now let's have a look at the basses. So there's quite a few basses to go through here, and I haven't actually created all these basses myself this time. I have used some other sample packs because I don't always create everything, as you know. Making tunes isn't always about creating the sounds yourself. You can get a little help if you need some inspiration sometimes. So I found this foghorn here that sounds like this. And then I've put some post-processing on it. So I've put this OTT on it, then I've put this reverb on it, and I've also got a kickstart on it just doing the sidechain, and then a Pro Q just limiting it to absolute craziness to get it to as loud as possible. So this foghorn is the first 2 bars, and then we have this little stab sound that comes in here. And then we have this second foghorn bass, which I have used on exactly the same processing as the first bass, you can see here. But I've got a gross beat on it as well on the tremolo setting. So you can come to presets along here until you get the patterns section, and then you pick tremolo, and it creates this cool tremolo effect. So I've got it turning on here, which I thought was super cool. And then I've got my sub bass underneath this one as well. So the sub looks like this, with this drawn on here. It's got a kickstart to on it as well, and then the actual main bass itself is just crazy amount of stuff going on. If you want to try and copy it, feel free. So we've got envelope 1 like this, envelope 2 on all these settings here. And then we've got these LFOs, so LFO 2 on this and here. LFO 3 on the master tune here, you can see. And then LFO 4 on the level here, just adding a little bit of wobble. And then we've got this variation on here, just with these turned on. And then we've got this vibrate setting on here, the width on here. And it gets that crazy sound. So we're basically following the ABC pattern. So this is A, this is B, this is A, this is C. So let me just play it so you can hear. We've got the first foghorn, a stab. And then we have the horns that come in here, which I'll show you in the instrument section. And then it repeats. And then this is C, just a Neuro style sample that I found and pitched down so it's in key. Sounds like that. And then the horns come in again, which I'll show you again later on. And then it just repeats and we do some little variations. So like this is changed up a bit in the next section. And then we kind of just repeat all that. And I think pretty much every note is playing a D. So that's playing a D, that's playing a D, that's playing a D, that's playing a D, that's playing a D. And then these are playing slightly different melodies at the end here. So in terms of like melody, it's quite simple. It's just mostly about sound design this. So now let's have a look at the vocals. Vocals are really simple. I just used a free jungle pack I found online. I'll link it in the description if you want to get it. The only thing I'd say about these is they are a bit overused, but I just thought it worked so well, so I've just kept it. So this is just the vocal sample with that claw vocals that I love using on it. And then we just have, where there was a gap in the drop, I just put this run sample and a breath as well. So that's from the Rollers pack. I love using breaths, they're so cool. And then that just repeats throughout the drop like this, you can see. Really simple, the vocals. A nice pre-drop and then some sort of vocal effects in the drop to keep it interesting. And then we also have this in the intro as well, which just like slowly comes in. It's the same as that, just I've added that onto it so it gradually comes in. Now let's look at the instruments. So this is just using a load of stuff from Splice. What essentially I've done is created like an eerie intro here and then created some tension here and then gone into the build up here. So let's listen to it so you can see what I've done. So this is the first sound. It's just like an eerie texture mixed with an eerie pad. Both in D, and you can see that here. And how I've added these in is with Splice and Splice Bridge. So you can see my Splice Bridge is set up here, and then you connect Splice to it. And you can literally just download them, put them into D and then drag them in and then press play and listen to them with others. So I just layered them. And then after 8 bars, we bring in the instrument. So we've got this brass sound layered with another brass sound here. Really simple. Just keeping in D minor and added some variation here and here and having D hit every single other bar. And then we've added this below it, this chopped up here, as like a bass underneath to add tension. And then we've got this sound as well, which I thought was really cool and eerie. Now listen to all this together, it just sounds so cool. So much tension. And then after another 8 bars when the build-up comes in, adding this sound. Just loads of eerie sounds with this one. And then bum, bum, bum. And then everything stops for the pre-drop when the vocal comes in. And that snare at the end. And then we just keep the horn in for the variation, like I said before, where the basses stop here. And then here. And that's just repeated. When I play the track at the end, you'll hear exactly what I mean by that bit. And then for the end of the section, we bring everything back in and it just makes the transition more smooth here. And I'll just play it for you so you can hear what it sounds like. And then we go into the second part of the drop. Finally, let's look at the effects. So the effects are very standard. It's just loads of risers, down filters, and one shots. So let me just play it through for you so you can see what I've done. So a nice little down filter effect, a one shot clicky sound, a riser, a vocal riser as well. These are really good to use, vocal risers. And then we had an impact there as well. That's from the Rollers pack. Impact 1 is really OP. And then we have risers, risers, risers. I love layering risers. The vocal, riser, loads of little effects going on. And then that little effect as well going on. They're all part of the Rollers pack. These are actually full effects loops part of the pack, which are really fun to use and chop up. And then going into the drop, we're using some of these full loops here, which have some cool sounds in. So you listen to this, we've got like a gunshot sound, a little vocal riser, a bubble pop sound, and then like a cool vinyl swipe, I think. And then that just repeats. And then we bring these risers in for that 32 bar transition as well. So that is everything covered. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I know this tune is quite complicated, there's a lot going on. Now let's listen to the final product. And that is the track complete. This track releases at midnight tonight on the release of this video. So it's probably already out if you're watching it. So please go and give it a stream, add it to your playlist. It would mean a lot. It's called Godzilla. There's a link down below to add it to your playlist. I'll also put it up for free download on SoundCloud for any DJs out there. And if you want to support the channel and get your music sounding way better, make sure to get that ROLLERS DNB sample pack and the Foghorn DNB sample pack. And as well, if you want to completely transform your music, my Music Production Academy is there to join down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.